Am I, 19M, a bad person for getting angry at my boyfriend, 20 meters, when he gets sad? So, the title sounds bad and it probably is. But, I am going crazy. Me and my boyfriend got together 4 years ago, and I realized after a few months hours suffering from depression, it got so bad that I had to force him to get help. He hurt himself twice, and I just had to do something. He is happy that he got help, and I am happy too. However, after 4 years, my behavior changed. When Ho got sad before, I always calmed him down, said that everything is gonna be okay, and that I'm here for him. Like, after a wild day of activities that I planned to keep him happy, he just suddenly says, "Wow, today sucked. I'm so tired and hungry and I have to cook again," or, "Look at this huge pimple. Why am I so ugly?" Or, "Do you see how fat I am?" That made me sad before, but never angry. Up until now. That is. A few weeks ago, it started getting bad. I reacted to his sadness with anger. Every time he says that he's fat, ugly, or that the current day sucked, I get angry when the reason he is sad is stupid. When I apologize, he says he can't even be sad anymore, because I won't let him. Am I a bad person for losing my nerves after so many years? In social work, we call this burnout. It happens when you're putting in more effort than your client is toward their success. And it sounds like that's the case here. Your boyfriend doesn't seem particularly interested in recovery or solutions. Which means that for this relationship to work, you'll have to keep extending a ton of effort just to keep your heads above water. You need to stop doing so much. Stop doing his work for him. You're much less equipped to create long-term change than he is. You shouldn't be planning a whole day of activities just to keep him happy, as you've seen. It doesn't negate the symptoms of depression. And if you expect it to, you'll get frustrated and resentful when it doesn't work. The best thing you can do is encourage him to get outside treatment and to follow whatever a mental health professional tells him to do at home. Let him know the relationship can't survive if you're expected to manage his emotions for him. But there's also room for you to apologize here. You're resentful because you chose to make his emotional state your responsibility. It doesn't sound like that's what he's demanded of you. It sounds like something you chose to take on. Let that go. If he needs help from you, he needs to ask for it. I definitely think you are resentful and angry, which is understandable. It seems like he's depending on you to get help, to reassure him, and cater to him emotionally and mentally, and that's exhausting. Does he reciprocate the same for you? BC, it sounds like he's just taking and not giving anything back. I obviously don't know the specific ins and outs of your relationship, but it sounds like for the last 4 years, there has been a clear power imbalance in the emotion and effort department of the relationship. This may be harsh, but sometimes people are naturally unhappy, self-depreciating. Wanting to support someone and make them happy is an amazing trait, but it is unsustainable if only one side is putting the effort in. Honestly, your boyfriend sounds pretty manipulative and draining to be around, as well as the fact that he is almost purposely downplaying your contributions by redirecting it back to himself, plus invalidating your effort by saying that he's not allowed to be sad. You aren't a bad person. It sounds like you have compassion fatigue. Both you and your BF need to acknowledge that it takes an emotional toll to be his constant pillar of support. As difficult as his mental health struggles may be for him, they affect you too. He needs to find a way to make himself feel better other than always relying on you. Like counseling, mediation, exercise, anything. And you need to practice better self-care. Take time for your own enjoyment and focus on making yourself happy so that you might still be able to better take care of each other. All the best. Does he ever do anything for you or just rely on you all the time? His mental health is not your responsibility. It's his responsibility to get help, not to dump everything on you. I'd be angry too after 4 years of that crap. Honestly, is this how you want to live? Maybe time to move on. I've noticed PPL stop complaining when you give them a solution they don't want to do. But now they can't complain anymore. Fat? Workout? Pimples? Change diet or dermatologist have to cook again? Just throw in a pizza and have some carrots, call it good. What's the worry? But this would get old after 4 years. Have you tried to tell him that his negative speech is not only making his mindset worse but affecting you too? Sometimes you gotta word it better. A GF, not a therapist. You aren't a bad person, and bringing morality into it isn't helpful. Your boyfriend has a disability, and that disability is called depression. He can work to manage the disability, but there will likely always be challenges. You have the role of caretaker, and it's very hard. You're burned out, and you're taking on a lot of responsibility at a young age. That's going to build resentment. You've taken a good first step by focusing on your own reactions, rather than trying to change him. I'd look into support groups for loved ones with depression. There may even be some online. Then you can decide if this relationship is right for you. You aren't alone in this. Take care. Nope, you're not a bad person. You're developing resentment which is out of your hands. You don't decide to become resentful after a lot of effort on your part. You're tiring of the behavior you perhaps see as unnecessary and self-defeating. Not necessarily. It can be very frustrating when someone does nothing but drown themselves in self-pity instead of actually doing something to make them feel better about themselves. It's been 4 years. I don't blame you for losing it for a second. I had someone exactly like this in my life recently. We all have our limits. My now ex was suffering with depression and I did everything I could for him, but after a long while, I was dreading his phone calls and going home because he was literally dragging me down. In the end, I had to tell him to go get professional help. He resented me for that but didn't recognize all the 12+ months I did try and help him. At the end of the day, therapists have hour sessions for a reason. He sounds manipulative. Mental illness is a lifelong illness. There's a big difference between sadness and depression. I'll say a day sucked quite often if it was particularly stressful or sucky. I wouldn't want my so to get at me for having a bad day. However, if I had a great day and I still said it sucked, you are annoyed because you want a different life than the one you have with him. Check your happiness level and decide to stay or leave, but you're not happy. You are not a bad person. Is a lot of effort to try to help someone who is depressed, and it can easily drag you down too. You are over the same old negative crap. It's hard to be understanding when you hear that so much. Sounds like you just need a break. It's fair to get annoyed when he's fishing for compliments. I obviously don't know, but the two of you might benefit from exploring just how much you've kept him afloat. Have you supported him and promised future support to him to a degree that he has come to rely on you rather than build himself up? I know I've made that mistake in previous relationships. When one partner needs extra support and comfort and the other is happy to help, we frequently forget to examine whether the amount of help given is healthy. For instance, the helper type might frequently not bother their insecure partner with worries of their own, even big ones, because they don't want to burden them with more than they're already carrying. However, if the insecure partner then worries about silly things, the helper might get resentful. The insecure partner may even forget that the helper type even has worries, because even when they're aware of them, They can sometimes view the helper type with a kind of superhero filter, admiring them so greatly that they can't imagine anything affecting the helper as badly as it affects them, because they're just that awesome. Caregiver fatigue, caregiver burnout is a real thing. When you have to carry someone else, you often forget to carry yourself. The thing is, you don't have to carry someone else alone, and you need to step away and let therapists, doctors, etc. do what they do best, and get paid for. Unlike you, the insecure partner isn't only supported by helping them carry their burdens. They are also supported by trusting them to share yours. Humans are social animals. Most of us like to feel needed and/or useful. If the insecure partner is never trusted to offer support when the helper type is sad, what do they have to offer besides all the things they already feel insecure about? Like looks, skills, etc.? Two well-meaning and loving people can fall into an endless spiraling dynamic if they happen to be of the insecure and helper types respectively. It can be terribly destructive. I reached my limit after 4 years. That relationship was unsalvageable. I hope yours isn't. Look up codependency and see if it strikes a chord. I don't think you're a bad person. I think you've spent 4 years carrying a burden. And you're tired. You cannot carry the responsibility of keeping someone else happy all the time. Is he in therapy? You have options other than managing his moods and anxiety for him, and lashing out due to the resentment built up from having to look after him all these years. You don't have to respond at all to his bids for attention and reassurance if you don't want to. Or you can respond in a neutral way, without taking on any responsibility to soothe him. Perhaps a few therapy sessions would assist you in learning useful strategies to deal with him when he's being difficult. It would be a useful skill set to learn. You might then be able to live with him without being so resentful. You're not a bad person, and it may be time to get out of this relationship. He's unhappy and leaning on you to prop him up. His unhappiness is making you unhappy and you're getting angry. Sounds like it's time to move on. You're young. This doesn't have to be a forever thing. Get out of this toxic relationship. You can't see how unhealthy it is because it's literally the only relationship you've ever known. You've been together since before you were adults. You're too young to be tied down like this. You're becoming angry now because his depression is an empty hole inside of him that you will never, ever be able to fill. Only long-term professional help is going to help your BF. You can't, and you're burned out from trying. You've been setting yourself on fire for 4 years to keep your BF warm. And he's still not warm. Please tell your BF that this relationship isn't working for you anymore. You're entitled to want something different. Something more. Will he be upset? Of course. But it's not your job to try to save him. Break up with him now and block him and his family, friends from your phone, your email, and all social media. You can't get better until you separate yourself from this toxic relationship. Start reading some self-help books, free at your local library, so you can be as healthy as possible as you move forward with your life. Know you're just on the tail end of this relationship. Burnout looks different for different people.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.